Colton was a professional photographer who hunted for rare gear. In a derelict warehouse in Detroit, he found what looked like a prototype camera from the 1950s. It was heavy, wrapped in a strange dark leather that felt warm to the touch. There were no focal length markings on the lens, only one word engraved on the steel: witness. Colton bought it for next to nothing, unaware that this camera didn't capture light. It captured something far deeper. When Colton took the first shot of his empty office and developed it, he thought the film was damaged. In the photo, a silhouette stood in the middle of the room. It was a tall figure, completely covered in a dark veil, holding a long needle. What was most bizarre, the clock on the wall in the photo showed a time that wouldn't happen for another 2 hours. The camera didn't shoot now. It shot what was going to happen in that space later. Colton became obsessed. He began photographing city streets, parks, and the faces of strangers. Every shot showed the future: a wrecked car that was currently intact, withered flowers that were still in bloom, but in every frame, tucked away in a corner or a shadow, that same veiled figure was present. With every new photo, it moved closer to the lens. It was as if it knew Colton was watching it through time. One morning, Colton decided to take a self-portrait. When he developed the photo, he didn't see himself. The image showed a man whose skin looked like dry paper, his eyes sewn shut with the very needles held by the veiled figure. Worst of all, everything in the room was covered in a layer of black dust, and the windows were boarded up from the inside. He looked at his own hands. They were healthy, but the air suddenly smelled of old paper and decay. The camera began operating on its own. Colton heard the shutter click in the middle of the night. Click, click, click. Each flash momentarily revealed the veiled figure in the darkness of the room. Now he didn't need the photographs to see it. After every flash, the reality around him synced up to what was in the pictures. The paint on the walls began to crack and peel in seconds. The furniture grew old and rotten right before his eyes. He tried to smash the camera with a hammer, but the nail was tougher than any alloy. When he struck the lens, he felt a sharp pain pierce his own eye, as if a needle had been driven into it. Instead of oil, a viscous black substance, like ink, began to leak from the lens. The ink spread across the floor, forming complex patterns that resembled a massive fingerprint. Colton realized he could no longer leave the apartment. The door wasn't locked. It simply wasn't there. In its place was a solid wall of rusted metal. The room around him had transformed into what he saw in the photo: boarded windows, a layer of black dust, and the silence broken only by the sound of heavy breathing from under the bed. The witness was completing its final frame, and Colton was the main subject. The veiled figure stepped into the light. Colton saw now that the veil wasn't fabric, but thousands of feet of developed film containing his own memories. The creature began to slowly wrap this film around Colton. Every layer of film that touched his skin stripped away a year of his life. He felt his body drying up, becoming light and brittle like an old negative. The figure held the camera up to Colton's face. He saw his reflection in the lens. In it, he was young and happy. Back on the day he first found this cursed device. It was the last moment of his real life. The figure pressed the button. A massive flash of white light scorched everything. The walls, the dust, the memories, and Colton himself. The pain was brief, but he felt his essence tearing into millions of silver particles, settling onto the film. The Detroit warehouse. A new property owner is going through boxes. He finds a camera that looks brand new. Its leather is polished, and the lens is clearer than ever. The man brings the camera to his eye and looks through the viewfinder. He sees himself, but in different clothes, standing in a room covered in black dust. He smiles, thinking it's a cool vintage effect, and presses the shutter. Click. Now he is the next witness